Hey guys, what's up? So before anything else, I would just like to apologize on the audio. I'm using my phone's microphone at the moment. So yeah, I would like to talk about my Dimensions and Solo series that I've been doing for the past few weeks, up camera, on camera, like that. So, tier 1, which was regarded as the hardest tier back in the day because of the prominence, we had limited units. So, I've soloed it with El Nacho here, Ildnarsh, Eldnark. I don't know how do you pronounce his name, Ildnarsh, Eldnark, but Ildnarsh is the famous pronunciation. So, yeah. I plan to redo this with his burst just for the laps. Yeah, I'm going, spoilers, I'm going for his burst. Because he's one of my one trick pony characters. And with the upcoming 8 buff debuff slots for the enemy, I am seeing Ilnarsh as my secret weapon, given if Terror isn't banned, or rather the boss isn't immune to Terror. So they say, I see in Facebook so many takes that Ilnarsh verse weapon sucks. I think those came from people who don't know how to manage their debuffs or just doesn't like the character. I understand that his skills do need more HP dumps, but that would be a talk for another day. So tier 1 I did with Ilnarsh. Tier 2 is the magic only tier. I did it with Realm here. And I did it Realm with a Silk Summon, so every time she does this sketch summon, she heals herself. Realm is brilliant here because she gets those free turns. Her sketch debuff really helps. Her EX plus potency is good. Was awesome when it was released. I used her on tier 2. You can use her on higher tiers, but yeah. Realm in solo tier 2. Tier 3 I did it Kefka. I don't have Kefka's burst, I only have his LD. So by the time Kefka I happen to get his burst back, maybe I'll try to solo it again with his burst. Maybe just for the laps. Tier 3 is notorious for the debuffing Lamia and the HP spam heavy mobs. That's why Kafka's HP silence was so helpful during those times, you know? And with this LD extending the HP silent debuff and framing it, it was a good quality of life. I did it way easier when he had his LD, and it was suspected that it can be done with only EX plus, but you have to be careful with the debuff management, when to apply it, right timing. But since his LD extends the debuff and frames it, you don't have to worry about that. So there. Also, future 8 buff debuff slots to the enemies. Maybe Kefka, when he gets his LD boards, I'll try to see the improvements here on tier 3. We'll see. Tier 4 is Bane. Now, tier 4 is the most soloable stage ever in Dimensions, and I can see why it was that. So, I use Bane here, and this is the stage that possibly I may redo for another solo. I heard Zack can solo tier 4. So maybe if I will redo it. I will do it with Zack because I kind of want Vayne to do a higher tier in the future. If and only if I don't do it with another certain character. We'll get to that later. Tier 5, I did it with Variant just to free up Galoof. I soloed it with Galoof. But when I got Galoof's LD, I brought Galoof 5 tiers higher. And that made me free up Galoof in tier 5. Furion here to keep in check with the heals. So I think it was Furion and yeah, it was Furion. I forgot the calls that I used, but yeah, it was Furion. I think it was Paris' call. Furion with a burst weapon. I saw that's how I did tier 5. Tier 6 was way challenging because Celeste ran out of skills, but good thing she has last stand. And the last remaining enemy was the ultimate weapon. So I just barely made the HP requirement. I ran out of skills. You can I think I uploaded a video of my Celeste with LD solo of tier 6. You can check it out. Machina tier 7. This is I never knew Machina can solo a Dimensions End, so I'm proud of this run. I tried to solo this with Ultimisia, but the Kaiser Behemoth at the end ends up eating most of her skill rotations, but I gotta give up with Ultimisia. So with Machina in his follow-up, I simply bullied the Kaiser Behemoth to hell. So I did it with Machina with LD boards, and then I saved up the follow-up on the Cross Beetles and the Kaiser Behemoth. I didn't waste a follow-up on the first wave. You can manage that. GG. Tier 8 is the elemental thing. So that's where when it was initially released, it was all to sell Lulu and those enchant and peril units like Raijin, Fujin. I think Shantoto, but she was in peril, but she was also there, Papa. So here I use Gao with the LD boards. Gao and an Ifrit summon. Ifrit summon to cancel out the elemental behemoths at wave 2. And I saved up what's his LD? His LD skill at the end. When I'm in summon phase, I don't use the LD skill of Gao because I'm just gonna burn through it. So yeah. Tier 9 is my Shadow solo. So history here, I haven't done the Shadow solo when he got his EX Plus. I only done it when he got level 80 with a call with the character boards. Yeah. And with spears. So that's when I figure out I should purple Shadow just to do a tier 9 solo. It was way difficult when it was first released. When I did this with Shadow, it was way easier. I didn't took a lot of resets. I don't did resets, I think. And that was so that means patience is virtue. GG. Tier 10, I tried to solo this with Furion, but I think the edge call was so vital to that run that I'm not gonna spend crystals on edge at his current state just for a call. So I used the loop here when he got his LD, so I freed him from tier 5, put Furion in there. Who can solo tier 10, but I can't solo Fury with tier 10, that was the problem. So I brought in Galoof with the LD. He did fine. The final strike counter attack did its job against the dragons. And it was really awesome, if you ask me. Tier 11, this is my Jack solo. So this is when I first decided to try solo Dimensions End just for fun. So Jack here, was an awesome solo. The key here is it's a game of RNG because I ended up burning his Soul Harvest buff, the one that gives him high evasion rate. So without that, his evasion rate is but it was a win on a prayer, and I had to consult people like Miss Lisette and others on how to use Jack. Like his HP plus can also make him jump turns as long as you break an opponent, but it doesn't jump. But it doesn't let him jump turns when the opponent is already broken. So I use that as a knowledge to conserve some skills. So there. I believe Jack can solo tier 10 but without LD. I did this with his LD. Terra, tier 12, best solo run of my life until what? Tier 17, we'll get to that. So Terra solo, I put a vanille refined spear on Terra just to deal with the buffs that the Argent officer, the one in the first wave, does. And then spam the burst in the end. Tier 13, I did this first try. It was a level 80 cater, X-Plus only. And I also used Ferris Skull. That's to prevent the turtles from gaining grade, but I think it backfired because it was melee and they were melee resist. Yeah. That was this was a time when I used cater properly. Good thing I farmer cursed artifacts fast, and I was able to do the solo here on tier 13. This was one of the last tiers that I had to clear out. Tier 14 is the one with the buffing eagle. So my initial clear here was of course Squall when his burst debuted, but I freed up Squall for reasons. We will get to that. So Garland was there. The trick is I had to do the right turn order. I had to delay the eagle, and I had to do a lot of resets, especially if I burned out a lot of skills in the second wave against the giant cannon. So what I did is, what I did was I burst, I think, on the last wave, but I targeted the healing node first. And after that, I summoned on the last wave, killed the big CPU. Yeah. So your trouble here is the bird and the tanky cannon at the second wave. You will burn a lot of skills on that wave. Trust me, you will burn a lot of skills. You need to know when will you use the Garland's HP plus attack at your advantage. Tier 15 was the last solo I did because Tifa LD just got released. It was the only tier other than tier 20 that I haven't solo, so I placed Tifa there. It was awesome. She crushed that stage. So if you haven't seen my video, I have a video uploaded on how to solo tier 15 with Tifa. Credits to TK Kayas. JP player, awesome dude. Tier 16, Emperor. I mean, this tier is the anti-battery. Oh wait, that's 17. What was this tier? Let me see. Oh, it's the demon wall. So here, the problem is the Whelk because they were so tanky. Especially when they get into the shell, you need to delay them. Well, they're not in the shell, but they were in the shell. So what I did is, I burst there, I used a Torrent of Repentance there. So yeah, because by the end, when the demon wall comes, you just need to place the EX debuffs on your first move at the final wave. Delay it with the LD and then spam HP plus. That's it. That's how you do Emperor. The trouble here is the Whelk. That's where the perfect moment you have to burst through and summon. Tier 17 is my most watched DFFO video. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's when Skull God is reworked and I solo tier 17. Took me a lot of reasons, but I did it. I did it. Tier 18 is the easiest solo because I got 8 LD and that was the time of his release. People were hyping up 8 there. 8 was soloing a shit ton of content, old content. 8 solo tier 18, so I did a solo tier 18. Tier 19 was Gladiolus. So my challenger was Gladiolus was running out of his impulse buff till the end because I only have 3 uses and he only has 3 turns. So what you did is I didn't use the impulse buff on the Bastion. Oh wait, I used it because you use the impulse buff on the first wave because they delay you. I did not use the impulse buff on the second wave. That's where they got the toad. If you got toaded, just use the C65, you're fine. And then final 2 waves, use the LD. Now for tier 20, as I said, I may free up Bane here I may free up Bane when I get his LD and burst and solo tier 20, or I'm lazy to free up Bane, do a Zac solo, the parallel RNG on the wave 1. I can bring a fully greened BT plus Ishtola and solo tier 20. But in the end, tier 20 with the best team possible, Lightning, Wireblight, Ramza, is the only tier that I haven't solo in Dimensions and Entropy. So that's my bonus video, I think. Soloing the tiers from the old Chaos era. It was fun doing it. I only did when I was bored to do, but when I got to upgrade most of these characters, particularly Eldnark, I want to redo them again just for the laps. So that's it. Thank you for watching and goodbye. I'm currently in some room. My back hurts. So I have a bad health today. So yeah. Thank you for watching.